Hey, what you reading for?
I need new books to read, and I like to stay current, so I have found a list of some highly anticipated fiction that is set to be released in fall and winter of 2024. This list was put out by Time Magazine. We'll go through the list together and see what piques my interest. A reminder to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll skip the intro sequence and jump straight in. First on the list is Mad Woman, which seems a bit redundant, right? Mad Woman by Chelsea Biker. I'm not familiar with this author. Clove, the protagonist of Chelsea Beaker's second novel, Mad Woman, has told everyone, including her capitalist husband, that her parents died when she was 17. In actuality, her mother, Alma, is serving time in a California prison for killing Clove's abusive father. Now, in the wake of the Me Too movement, Alma's case is being reevaluated and she needs her estranged daughter to testify about the events of the night her father died. The truth could set both women free if Clove is willing to face the trauma of her past. Okay, a few things here. I love when people lie in works of fiction. Lying is fantastic. It reveals some kind of identity, problems with the identity, which I find fascinating. It's deceitful and it creates immediate intrigue. Why are they lying? What are they afraid of someone finding out? What do they not like about themselves? So I love when characters lie. However, this blurb has a few buzzwords that raise red flags for me. For example, her capitalist husband. Okay, that's an odd way to refer to someone, to her husband. And also the wake of the Me Too movement. Now, as a human being, I am very much in favor of and would love to see more social progress. As a reader, however, I'm not interested in that. It's not that I'm not interested in it, it's that I believe that we can achieve more social progress with the power of fiction. Within the power of fiction is that it allows readers to experience things and see the world from somebody else's perspective. And it builds empathy. And that is accomplished when the writer is able to place the reader in someone else's context, someone else's environment, and have them see things from their perspective and have them feel things. And that is accomplished with subtlety, and that is accomplished also when the writer lets the characters do the work and they don't insert themselves into the book. However, books being put out today, contemporary books coming from the US especially, and especially genre fiction, I think are doing a very poor job of using subtlety and of keeping the author from inserting themselves into the narration and letting the characters do all the work. They're doing a really bad job of that, I think. And there is a lot of preaching, virtue signaling, and all borderline essay writing that's being slipped into fiction. And as a reader, I'm not interested in that at all. So I don't know anything about Chelsea Beaker. Maybe she's not guilty of that. But the buzzwords in that blurb are red flags to me. So I'm going to pass on this one. Moving on. We're Alone by Edwidge Danticat. Danticat, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think that's a great name. Danticat. We're Alone, award-winning author Edwidge Danticat's latest work of nonfiction. We'll skip that, and I have no interest in nonfiction. I have a strong aversion to reality. What has reality ever done for me? Nothing, that's what. I have no interest. Moving on, Small Rain by Garth Greenwell. I love the book cover. I love the minimalism of it. So that immediately has me intrigued. Garth Greenwell, I have never heard of this author. Garth Greenwell's third novel, Small Rain, begins with a life-changing medical emergency. Amid the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic, a 40-something-year-old poet finds himself bowled over by an excruciating ache that lands him in the ICU. A poet is the protagonist, really? I'm not sure if I'm going to connect with a poet protagonist. I do like poetry, however, poets, not so much. In Greenwell's novel about what it really means to be alive, the poet must navigate the dysfunctional American healthcare system to find the root of his mysterious pain. Okay, so this is a book that is going to attempt to dissect and showcase the dysfunction of the American healthcare system. I do not live in the United States, and so I'm not really that interested in the intricacies of their healthcare system. I know I've heard it's really bad, and I hope they get it sorted out, really, sometime soon, but not so interested in it. So I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass on this. The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. Okay. A retired math teacher books a one-way ticket from England to Ibiza in Matt Haig's follow-up to his best-selling 2023 novel, The Midnight Library. I've heard good things about The Midnight Library, but I have not read it. Grace Winters is set to inherit the home of her late friend Christina, whose death is a mystery to her. Once there, the widowed protagonist embarks on a weird and wondrous journey, kick-started by the notes Christina left behind, and this fantastical exploration of grief, forgiveness, and second chances. It's only by tracing Christina's final days that Grace taps into the magic of her own life. Okay, a few things here. A retired math teacher as a protagonist. That means we have an older protagonist, which I like. I am much more interested in older people in my fiction. We have a weird and wondrous journey. I like the weird, wondrous. I'm on the fence about. There is potential here, I think. I think I might be the reader for this book. I'm not going to jump out and read it straight away. I am going to put it on my radar. The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. And also The Midnight Library. I should probably check out first, maybe. And I'll wait and see what other people have to say about this book. But it's a possibility. Moving on, Under the Eye of the Big Bird by Hiromi Kawakami. Under the Eye of the Big Bird is a disquieting work of speculative fiction. I like speculative fiction. From celebrated Japanese author Hiromi Kawakami. Set in a distant future in which humans face imminent extinction, offers a poignant look at a dying civilization looking to rebuild. Across 14 loosely connected stories, Kawakami poses questions about cloning, reproduction, identity, memory, and evolution, while also offering solutions to combat mankind's downfall. Okay, so this is set in the distant future. So this is probably in the hard sci-fi category. Hard sci-fi is a very hard sell on me. 14 loosely connected stories is not really what I'm in the mood for. I would much prefer one focused novel. So the combination of hard sci-fi and the fact that it's loosely connected short stories, I'm going to pass on that. Next up, we have Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner. Very cool book cover. It's intriguing. With Creation Lake, Rachel Kushner, the best-selling author of The Mars Room and The Flamethrowers, puts her own macabre spin on the classic espionage novel. Okay, I've recently worked on an espionage novel on a professional capacity, and I've kind of had my fill of espionage. So just the fact that it's an espionage novel, I'm gonna not read it, at least in the near future, but I will check it out and maybe it will go on my radar. A seductive and perceptive former FBI agent. Seductive and perceptive. Aren't those contradictory? Seductive and perceptive former FBI agent infiltrates a commune of eco-terrorists in rural France. Oh, I like all of that. As the 34-year-old agent provocateur inches closer to taking down the radical farming cooperative, she finds herself falling under the spell of their octogenarian leader, who communicates only by email. And she is obsessed with Neanderthals and is skeptical of modern civilization. It's a slow burn spy novel with a philosophical and environmental bent. Okay, there's a lot here that piques my interest. I like the older protagonist, 34. Seductive and perceptive. Those are two qualities that I like in a protagonist. And we have some form of a commie and a cult. I love cults. I'm fascinated by cults. And she becomes obsessed. I love obsession. So this is clicking a lot of boxes for me. And creation link, and I like the cover. So I'm not going to run out and get this book. But it does seem like something that I maybe might read soon. I'll put that on my TBR. Up next, we have Colored Television by Danzy Senna. Okay, we've got like a 60s psychedelic looking cover. Let's see. Danny Senna's follow-up to the best-selling novel Caucasia is a dark comedy about the price of faking it until you make it in Hollywood. So I'm not a big movie buff, not a big movie fan. And so stories about movies, stories about Hollywood, that's not really a big selling point for me. When Colored Television begins, struggling multiracial author Jane Gibson has finally finished her second novel. It's a very strange way to refer to an author. Multiracial author. Okay. I bet that is the trend these days, right? To put somebody's ethnicity or sexual orientation like as part of the marketing campaign. It's included with who the author is. I don't think I'm very comfortable with that, but that's the way it is today. Okay. Why not just an author, celebrated author? No. Celebrated struggling multiracial author. Finished her second novel, which her artist husband has dubbed the Mulatto War and Peace. But when she's told that her manuscript is unsellable, she takes a meeting with a hotshot Hollywood producer who is all too happy to make use of her literary credentials and personal background for a new project. Yet once Jane signs on, she starts to worry that this isn't her big break, but instead a sign that she's finally sold out in this satire about ambition, aspiration, and reinvention. Satire is a tough sell on me. Dark comedy I like, but I think this might be another co-opting of fiction to drive a social justice agenda. And again, I'm all for social justice. I just don't really care for it in my fiction. I could be wrong about this, but also the setting of Hollywood and the racial component, it seems very American to me, and I don't know if I'm ready for that, or if I'm in the mood for that right now. Next up, we have Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. I like the book cover. I like the colors, and I like birds. Birds are cute. I don't know anything about this author. Let's find out. With her 10th novel, Tell Me Everything, Pulitzer Prize winning author Elizabeth Strout returns to the sleepy coastal town of Crosby, Maine. The fictional setting of her 2008 bestseller, Olive Kitteridge. To catch up with three of her most beloved characters. Amid a murder investigation, writer Lucy Barton, local lawyer Bob Burgess, and Strout's brusque heroine Olive, now 90 years old and living in a retirement home, find solace in one another's company. Tell Me Everything is a novel of well-observed, connected short stories about fear, regret, and friendship. This might be a great book. It is, I don't think, the book for me. I don't want to spend time in a sleepy coastal town in Maine. I feel like I've done that more than enough times in fiction. And it's almost got like a cozy mystery feel to it, and cozy mysteries are not really my bag. And again, we have loosely connected short stories. I'd like one firmly connected novel, please. Moving on. Entitlement by Ruman Alam. Entitlement. Best-selling author Ruman Alam's fourth novel, Entitlement, examines the thin line between greed and ambition. After nearly a decade working as an underpaid inner-city teacher, Brooke Lowe, a 30-something New Yorker, takes a job with an octogenarian billionaire businessman. As the administrator of his foundation, she is tasked with dispersing his fortune as she sees fit. It's a pretty good gig. In this unsettling social thriller, Brooke becomes more and more fixated on buying an apartment she can't afford, been there, and careless decisions concerning her own finances and her wealthy bosses put her at risk of losing everything. Entitlement. Okay, this is interesting. It seems like this character is going to do some morally ambiguous things, which I'm all in favor of in fiction. And she's going to have to either justify them or double down on them or learn something from them. This could go a lot of ways. Unsettling social thriller. The social part has me nervous again. I like unsettling and I like thriller. The social stuff I'm not so keen on. But I like the premise. I'm not going to rush out and buy this book, but I will put it on my radar and I'll wait and see what kind of buzz it gets. It is set to come out very soon, actually, September 17th. Entitlement by Ruman Alam. Up next, we have The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. Laura Dave's seventh novel, The Night We Lost Him, is a twisty thriller that will keep you guessing. When Liam Noon, a thrice-married hotel magnate, falls off the cliffs surrounding his oceanfront California home, his death is quickly ruled an accident. But his daughter, Nora, a recently engaged Brooklyn-based architect, and his son, Sam, a former baseball player now working in the family business, suspect foul play. Only after the estranged half-siblings stop bickering long enough to investigate their late father's final days do they discover that he wasn't the man they thought he was. Yeah, that's a no from me. Twisty thriller that will keep you guessing. The twist for the sake of a twist, oh man, those never work on me. The only exception of a twisty writer that I really like is Catriona Ward. Her books are great. But she's an amazing writer. Which maybe Laura Dave is too. I don't know. I'm not familiar with her work. Also, the thing that really puts me off on this book is only after the estranged half-siblings stop bickering long enough. I don't want to listen to half-siblings bicker. I don't want to read about it either. So that's going to be a hard pass for me. A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez. I love the title. Recently, I guess back in February, I had my first Mariana Enriquez experience, and it was not a good one. I read The Things We Lost in the Fire, and I did not like it, so I am not eager to have another Mariana Enriquez experience. And this is another short story collection, so I will pass. Next up, we have A Reason to See You Again by Yami Attenberg. And it has an old-timey pink telephone on the book cover. And the font has a retro look to it, so that's pretty cool. Let's see what this one's about. Jamie Attenberg, the best-selling author of I Came All This Way to Meet You, returns with a domestic drama that follows one chaotic family across a span of 40 years. After the death of their Holocaust-surviving patriarch in 1972, the women of the Cohen family struggle to connect. Eldest daughter, Nancy, married too young. Little sister, Shelley, moved out west to become a tech tycoon. And their mom, Frida, headed down to Miami to drink her sorrows away. But in this wry novel about love, loss, and inherited trauma, the dysfunctional trio must find a way to come back together in order to move past their grief. Okay. A domestic drama? Yeah, I can get into that. There's nothing about these characters from this short blurb that has me excited. A tech tycoon? Oh, no thank you. She married too young. That's the only interesting thing we can say about her. And the mother moves to Miami. Who would want to move to Miami? Miami is a horrible place to live. I've never been to Miami. That's just my uninformed opinion. But yeah, anyone who wants to move to Miami is not someone I am interested in getting to know any better. Moving on. Playground by Richard Powers. Richard Powers, that sounds like a pen name, doesn't it? Maybe not. Maybe. Pulitzer Prize winning author Richard Powers' latest ecological epic is set largely on the French Polynesian island of Makatea. There, a mysterious American organization plans to launch floating autonomous cities into the ocean. The story follows multiple characters: an aging Canadian marine biologist, an art-loving military brat, a former literature student from Chicago, and the wealthy founder of a successful AI platform. Yeah, the only thing interesting about those characters is one of them is from Canada, which is nice. Yeah, each of these interconnected people play a role in the company's quest to convince the island's dwindling population to vote yes on a futuristic initiative that promises to trigger a much-needed economic revival, but may also lead to environmental devastation. Okay. It has been a while since I've read an ecological epic, so I am intrigued by that concept. Now, I also would like to spend some time in French Polynesia. I've never been to French Polynesia, but I have spent most of my life in France. And what I can tell you is that France is not a very well decentralized nation. My guess is if you're going to, if you're an American company or any kind of company, and you want to launch a big project in French Polynesia on the island of Makatea, my guess is you're gonna have to spend a lot of time in Paris, and with the lawyers and I don't know, politicians in Paris to get that done. But this book is not going to take that route. They're going to try to convince the local dwindling population. So it seems like it's not really kind of based on the way things actually happen, or maybe they happen like that and I just don't know. I find that very hard to believe that you could get anything done on the island of Makatea on that scale without going through Paris, mostly. But it's fiction. We can make conveniences in the plot to move the story forward. Yeah, so I'm interested in that. Spending time on Makatea, that sounds good. Ecological epic, it's been a while since I've experienced that. So yeah, I'm gonna put this on my TBR. Not gonna go out right away and read it, but it's on my TBR. Moving on, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Earlier this year, I had my first Sally Rooney experience. I decided I wanted to read some romance, so I read Normal People, and it was okay. It was okay, but it doesn't have me wanting to read any more Sally Rooney, actually. So I'm just gonna pass. I'm not even gonna read the blurb. Just pass on that. Sally Rooney, a lot of people love her work. Good for them. I'm not one of them. Moving on, The Empusium, a health resort horror story by Olga Tokarczuk. So immediately this goes on my TBR just because it's by Olga Tokarczuk, and I've had one experience with her writing. I read Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead Loved it, loved it, loved it. And I am eager to read more from her. And a health resort horror story. Fantastic. Let's find out what this is about. For fans of Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain, Nobel Prize winning author Olga Tokarczuk's ninth novel, The Empusium, set in 1913. Nice. The book, first published in 2022 and recently translated by Antonia Lloyd-Jones, begins with a 24-year-old Polish student seeking treatment from tuberculosis. When he is turned away from a health resort in the Silesian Mountains, he takes a room in a nearby inn where misogynistic men philosophize over shots of hallucinogenic local liqueur. As the young man lingers, he begins to sense a sinister presence lurking all around that threatens not only him, but all of humanity. Okay, I like the setting, and it's in the mountains in a small town in 1913. I've been reading a lot more historical fiction recently, and I've been enjoying it. So I'm happy to keep that streak going. And it's Olga Tokarczuk, so I'm going to read it, and I'm going to read it soon, actually. Moving on, The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Nearly a decade after the release of his first bestseller, Between the World and Me, Ta-Nehisi Coates set out to write a book about writing. The result is The Message, a collection of 3 intertwining essays. No. Moving on, The Mighty Red by Louise Erdrich. Don't know this author, Louise Erdrich. The latest novel from Pulitzer Prize and National Book Award winning author Louise Erdrich is a tender mother-daughter story set in the Red River Valley of North Dakota. Okay, nice. I don't know anything about North Dakota, and so I'm intrigued. I'd like to spend some time there. And a tender mother-daughter story, sure. Okay, so far so good. Kismet Poe has been an outcast all her life. So the edgy teen is surprised when she finds herself trapped in a love triangle with 2 boys, the local football hero and a homeschooled outcast that neither she nor her superstitious trucker mom approve of. Wait, so she's in a love triangle that she does not approve of? Okay. In this captivating multi-generational tale set amid the 2008 financial crisis, it's the titular river, the site of a communal tragedy that may hold the key to Kismet's uncertain future. Okay, I was excited about spending time in North Dakota. I was excited for a tender mother-daughter story, although the daughter I'm not that excited about anymore. She's an edgy teen. Yeah, okay, good. Good luck with that. I'm just not interested in spending much time with an edgy teen and her boy troubles. I mean, I hope she gets it all sorted. I really do. I'm just not gonna be that interested in finding out how. So I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass on that. Next up, we have Absolution by Jeff Vandermeer, which is a good reminder that I should read more from Jeff Vandermeer. This is the 4th installment of his best-selling and critically acclaimed Southern Reach series. Now, I did read the first one. It was called the first installment of that series, and it was called Annihilation, and I quite liked it. I didn't love it, but I quite liked it. And I would be interested in reading more in that series. And here we have the 4th installment. I should probably start with the 2nd, right? Jeff Vandermeer returns with the surprise 4th installment of his best-selling, critically acclaimed Southern Reach series. Absolution takes place in Area X, the mysterious uninhabited region made famous in the original horror fantasy trilogy published a decade ago. It's already been a decade, my goodness. Split into 3 distinct sections, Absolution takes place both long before and after the conclusion of the original series. The original series concludes. I did not know that. Which is why Vandermeer says the anxiety-inducing novel could be classified as either a prequel or a sequel. So I need to continue on with that series. I quite enjoyed the first one, Annihilation, so I need to read on. And this release has kind of further encouraged me to do so. Next up, Masquerade by Mike Few. I don't know this author. While house-sitting for his tortured artist friend, newly single bartender Meadow Liu discovers a mysterious book by a Chinese author with his same name. It's the first of many coincidences the protagonist encounters in Japan-based writer, translator, and editor Mike Few's debut. Masquerade, a surreal, queer, coming-of-age mystery set between New York and Shanghai. But after Meadow's friend goes missing at a retreat, he begins to worry he is losing his mind. To find the truth, he must confront the ghosts, both literal and figurative, of his past. So I'm compelled by a character losing his or her mind. I love that theme in fiction. However, I am going to pass on this book based on one word in this blurb. If you're a long-time viewer of this channel, can you guess which word it was? The word was literal, because we're talking about literal ghosts. I have no interest in ghosts because I am not a child. Yeah, figurative ghosts, yeah, I can get behind figurative ghosts. But if you introduce literal ghosts into your book, I'm check out immediately. And lastly, we have The City and Its Uncertain Walls by Haruki Murakami. I've only had one Haruki Murakami experience, and it was okay. It probably wasn't the book I should have read from him. It was called South of the Border, East of the Sun, something like that. And it was okay. It was all right. It probably wasn't the book I should have read from him, or should have started from him. He has other books I should read. Norwegian Wood, IQ 84. I hear great things about that. Einstein on the Beach. No, that's not it. Kafka on the Shore. I always confuse the two. Einstein on the Beach is the Philip Glass opera. Kafka on the Shore is the Murakami novel that I've heard great things about. So he's an author that I should probably read more of. But maybe should I read his new book? Or should I read the classics like IQ 84 that I hear so many great things about? Let's see what the new book's about. Haruki Murakami's latest novel, The City and Its Uncertain Walls, is a narrative told in 3 parts. The first section is based on his 1980 short story of the same name, in which a young man pines for his teenage crush, traveling between the real world and another more fantastical one surrounded by a high wall. Okay, I'm not crazy about basing a novel on a short story. Sounds a little bit like repurposing, but he pines for his teenage crush, which sounds borderline obsession, and I love obsession. By part 2, the protagonist, now an adult, has moved to a new town to work in a library, only to return to the walled city in the final act of this unique love story. Okay. Now, the book I read from him, The South of the Border, East of the Sun, was a unique love story, and with a different idea of love than I have, so which is interesting. So I'm curious to read more from him, especially if it's pitched as a unique love story. That has me intrigued. So there you have it, a few books on my radar, a few that I'm going to wait and see what the buzz is about, and then the Olga Tokarczuk's latest novel. I'm definitely all in. So, do you have any experience with these writers or with these books? And you don't have any experience with these books, they haven't come out yet. What a stupid question. But do you have any experience with the authors that I talked about in this video? I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments. I always love connecting with you in the comment section. Thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next video.